Welcome, esteemed viewers, to a thrilling journey through the hidden corridors of global power. In 1991, Madrid blazed with crystal lights and historic promises of lasting peace. World leaders smiled brightly, signing sacred treaties that promised a new dawn for the Middle East. Yet far from the cameras, deep within the brutalist bunkers of Tehran, anger quietly grew. Did these fragile papers bring true peace, or merely awaken a terrifying shadow war? October 1991. The Royal Palace of Madrid stood as a beacon of global hope. Former bitter enemies gathered around a massive mahogany table to forge a new world. Secret archives reveal an atmosphere thick with unspoken distrust and heavy political stakes. Western diplomats, wearing sharp tailored suits, positioned themselves as the ultimate peacemakers. They sat with straight postures, calculating every word under the blinding crystal chandeliers. Across the room, Arab delegates maintained a stoic and unyielding presence in white garments. Their cold expressions masked decades of bitter conflict and deeply rooted regional divisions. Israeli and Palestinian envoys faced each other with highly visible exhaustion. Heavy stacks of classified dossiers rested on the table, holding the weight of countless lives. Beads of sweat formed on their foreheads as they navigated the treacherous diplomatic waters. Every glance across the polished wood carried the heavy burden of a blood-stained history. Historic records show this was the very first time these fierce factions negotiated openly. The fall of the Soviet Union had entirely redrawn the strategic Middle Eastern map. America seized this brief chance to establish a massive and unprecedented new world order. Yet, seasoned analysts noted the fragile nature of this public diplomatic victory. The warm smiles presented to the global press were carefully crafted political performances. Deep beneath the surface, fierce ideological divides remained completely unresolved. Would a mere signature on a piece of paper truly erase generations of profound hatred? The echoing silence in the royal halls spoke volumes about the underlying tension and fear. Each delegation secretly prepared contingency plans in case these delicate talks collapsed. They meticulously reviewed their strategic options while maintaining a facade of compromise. The Western mediators pushed relentlessly for a consensus, driven by their own strategic goals. They promised global wealth and integration in exchange for painful territorial concessions. But for the Middle Eastern leaders, every inch of land conceded was a matter of survival. The weight of their ancestors' sacrifices pressed heavily upon their exhausted shoulders today. It was a dangerous game of political chess, played under the intense scrutiny of the world. The stakes had never been higher, as the alternative to an agreement was absolute chaos. As October faded, the Grand Conference moved toward its highly anticipated climax. As the negotiations concluded, the world held its breath for the highly publicized signing event. Heavy wooden doors opened, welcoming a chaotic storm of eager international journalists. The grand room erupted in blinding flashes, capturing the monumental historical moment. Western diplomats offered warm, calculated smiles, showcasing their perceived diplomatic triumph. Gleaming gold fountain pens hovered over the thick parchment papers, ready to alter history. The scratching sound of metal nibs on paper echoed through the suddenly quiet royal chamber. These elegant signatures formally established new boundaries and ambitious frameworks for peace. However, historians often argue that these documents were dangerously vague and incomplete. Crucial issues regarding Jerusalem and refugees were deliberately left completely out. But in that specific moment, the visual optics of compromise mattered more than the details. Slowly, the bitter rivals stood up from their chairs and reached across the massive wooden table. The physical handshakes were stiff, hesitant, and profoundly awkward under the glaring lights. Thick veins bulged in their tightly gripped hands, revealing the immense internal pressure they all felt. Forced and uneasy smiles were plastered on their faces as the camera strobes flashed relentlessly. To the global audience watching at home, it looked like a miraculous dawn of a new era. The Western powers quickly declared a decisive victory for their modern, democratic ideals. Newspapers around the world printed the iconic photographs on their front pages the next morning. The grand narrative of a stable Middle East was aggressively sold to the global public. Yet, seasoned experts who understood the region knew that true peace required more than a simple photo op. A signature forced by exhaustion and external pressure rarely translates to lasting harmony. The delegations packed up their classified dossiers and prepared to face their divided nations. They returned home, not as triumphant heroes, but as controversial figures bearing heavy burdens. The ink on the Madrid treaties had barely dried before the dangerous cracks began to surface. The illusion of total consensus was about to be shattered by those excluded from the table. For every hand shaken in the bright light of Madrid, a fist was clenched in the distant shadows. The most formidable forces in the Middle East purposefully boycotted the Grand Conference. They fiercely watched the televised broadcast with growing resentment and a dark desire for vengeance. The stage was perfectly set for a devastating counter-reaction that would shock the whole world. Thousands of miles away, deep beneath the rugged mountains of Iran, a different reality brewed. Inside a brutalist military bunker, the atmosphere was thick with swirling, toxic cigar smoke. A shadowy commander stood in the dark, watching the Madrid broadcast on a flickering screen. The pale green light from the vintage monitors illuminated only his sharp, unforgiving jawline. He wore dark leather gloves, a silent symbol of the ruthless underground power he commanded. To the rejectionist front, these compromises in Spain were an unforgivable betrayal. They believed that negotiating with the enemy was a complete surrender of their core values. Based on intelligence reports, Tehran quickly activated its vast and covert underground networks. The Shadow Commander crushed his glowing cigar, signaling the start of a hidden, deadly campaign. Heavily armed guards stood like stone statues by the rusty iron doors, awaiting their orders. The strategy was simple but devastating. Isolate the peacemakers and destroy the agreement. They fiercely aimed to prove that peace without their explicit consent was nothing but a foolish dream. Massive funds and advanced weapons began flowing secretly to radical proxy combatants. The dark rooms echoed with the sinister sounds of military planning and relentless ambition. While diplomats in Europe toasted with champagne, operatives in the desert armed their rifles. Iranian leaders expertly weaponized the anger of the marginalized and forgotten masses. They argued Western treaties were merely a neo-colonial tool to subjugate the region. This powerful narrative quickly gained traction among those who felt betrayed by the agreements. The massive domino effect of Madrid inadvertently awakened a sleeping behemoth. If the leaders at the table thought they had solved the crisis, they were tragically mistaken. Did the arrogance of the Western mediators blind them to the rising storm in the dark East? The rejectionists carefully mapped out the weaknesses of the newly established borders. They knew the fragile geopolitical structure could be easily toppled with precise strikes. A silent declaration of war was signed in the shadows, far away from the flashing cameras. This was not a war of massive invading armies, but a terrifying conflict of stealth and terror. The bunker became the nerve center for a coordinated effort to sabotage the peace process. Every diplomatic handshake in Madrid was met with a calculated act of raw violence. The profoundly stark contrast between the crystal chandeliers and the concrete walls could not be sharper. To enforce their grand vision, the rejectionist forces needed more than just proxy guerrilla fighters. Deep within the massive labyrinth, heavy industrial machines began to roar back to life. Red tactical emergency lighting bathed the concrete corridors in a sinister, bloody glow. A highly classified weapons program, once left dormant, was aggressively restarted in secret. The leather-gloved hand aggressively drew thick red lines across a deeply weathered tactical map. These new lines represented a grim and terrifying vision for the future of the Middle East. The sound of grinding metal echoed through the facility, a chilling symphony of hard power. While the world celebrated the end of the Cold War, a new, asymmetrical arms race had begun. The treaties of Madrid, lacking true regional consensus, were essentially built on fragile sand. The Shadow Commander threw a copy of the parchment agreement into a burning metal barrel. The flames consumed the diplomatic promises, leaving only ashes in the cold, unyielding darkness. True global influence means nothing without the brutal hard power to forcefully defend it. The underground facility buzzed with a fierce determination to reshape the modern world. Engineers worked tirelessly in the shadows, far removed from the lavish diplomatic halls. A new kind of warfare was being meticulously crafted to shatter the Western consensus. It was a profound realization that paper promises could never substitute for true strength. This terrifying paradigm shift guaranteed that the coming decades would drown in violence. The dark forces united under a single banner of uncompromising resistance. Their clandestine operations spread like a hidden virus throughout the entire volatile region. History constantly proves that excluding key players from the table breeds catastrophic wars. Masterminds in Tehran coldly anticipated the fast collapse of the fragile peace treaties. Each diplomatic failure became a powerful recruiting tool for the secret armies. The heavily guarded bunker effectively became the dark, beating heart of the resistance. As the camera pulls back, the massive scale of this secret military operation is revealed. The glowing cigar shows the cold reality that the peace agreement was a complete illusion. You cannot build a lasting house of peace while ignoring the armed forces waiting in the basement. For decades to come, the consequences of those flawed signatures would haunt the entire global stage. The first domino had fallen, and its destructive momentum was now impossible to stop. To back diplomacy, a dark program awoke in the mountains. Was this survival or pure malice? Please tell us your thoughts in the comments below. Did the Madrid Conference doom the Middle East? If you truly enjoyed this deep dive, please like, share, and subscribe to our channel for more history.